Breakfast with Craig Rucastle.
On 702 ABC Radio Sydney.
Well, early voting is underway in 3 by-elections in Pittwater, Hornsby and Epping. We were trying to speak to the Liberal candidates running in Hornsby and Epping, but we haven't been able to get them on at the moment. And some people are suggesting this might be because of the new equality laws which are being introduced to New South Wales Parliament today. North Shore Liberal MP Felicity Wilson has said that she will cross the floor to support the bill which provides stronger rights to transgender people. Alex Greenwich watered down the bill earlier on this week, and Felicity Wilson joins us now. Morning, Felicity.
Morning, Craig. How are you going?
Very good. So ordinarily in the Liberal Party, issues such as, gay and lesbian law reform have been dealt with a conscience vote, but that's not the case this time?
No, that decision wasn't made. I put that to all of my colleagues and I asked them to give everybody the opportunity to have that vote, but they decided not to do that in this circumstance.
Yeah, okay. So that means you've decided to actually cross the floor on this vote.
Well, just because the party won't give you a conscience vote doesn't mean that you don't have a conscience, and you get elected to represent communities and do what you think is right. So this is a very difficult decision for me, but it's the right thing for me to do.
Okay, and so you're saying that your electorate of the North Shore has been giving you feedback and they're in favour of this bill. What are they saying to you? What are they supporting?
Well, this bill is actually very different to the original bill that was put to the Parliament some time ago, as you said. I think you characterised it as being quite watered down. But the changes that are being put through are actually quite simple, and they reflect attitudes in my community about respecting individuals' right to make choices about themselves, providing some human dignity, reflecting their human rights. And when you look at things like the changes to birth certificates, this is something that happens in every other state and territory. The sky has not fallen in from people that say this will lead to problematic outcomes. In fact, it just gives dignity, a voice, rights, individual autonomy to people who need it. And I think every individual, which is a very liberal principle, should have that right. In my community, we very strongly have a sense of compassion to other people and respect their dignity and their rights.
Have you spoken to the Liberal leader, Mark Speakman, about this decision?
Of course. I spoke to Mark before Shadow Cabinet met and before the party room met, and he knew my concerns about this. I asked him for a conscience vote. I explained to him my concerns about the position, and I requested his support for my conscience to be reflected. He's an incredibly compassionate man himself. We had some really interesting conversations about it. I can't speak for him, but in my view, I think he completely understands where I'm coming from. And when I told the party room yesterday I'd have to vote for this legislation, it was completely respected by the party room, and all of my colleagues have shown me nothing but respect since.
Will there be consequences for you crossing the floor?
Well, that's not a matter for me. I think any time you make a really tough decision like this, people won't like it. But I don't think you can go into politics to not recognise that there are tough decisions and that sometimes you have to do things that people won't like and own that and stand up for it. But I think one of the great strengths of the Liberal Party is that if you do feel compelled to cross the floor, then you are respected and allowed to do that within our party structures. If this was the Liberal Party, I would have been expelled from the party immediately.
You mean if it was the Labor Party, you would have been expelled? Yes.
Sorry, the Labor Party. Yes. Sorry, the Labor Party. Thank you for correcting me. If it was the Labor Party, as we said in Canberra, you'd be expelled from the party just for reflecting your own conscience and the values of your community. And that's not something the Liberal Party does. So while it is a very uncomfortable decision, I've always voted with my party. I always intended to. I've been a member of the Liberal Party for a long time. This is my 3rd term in the Parliament, and I've never found myself in this position. For me, it is what is right.
Yeah, we spoke to Rachel Wong from the Women's Forum Australia yesterday. She's suggesting this is an issue of danger for women. You obviously don't agree with that?
I've always been an advocate for women's rights, and I don't believe there is any danger here. Some people will say to you that an individual being able to change their birth certificate opens up a range of risks in what they call women's-only spaces. It could be women's refuges, women's prisons, women's change rooms. I've never been asked for a birth certificate or a passport when I've entered any of those spaces. If I have ever felt unsafe in the status quo, then I would have addressed that through other legal mechanisms, as you could do. The other states and territories in Australia where people have been able to change their birth certificate, we've not seen those concerning outcomes because they're all already managed. There are transgender people already living in our community, already welcomed into women's spaces because they identify as women and done so in a respectful way. And I think one of the points that's been made is about other identity documents. It's been since 2013 that you could apply to change your sex on your passport without requiring any surgical procedures. I mean, this is passport guidelines that existed throughout the Abbott government, for instance. And why would we in New South Wales, more than a decade later, be requiring people to undergo what is extremely life-altering surgery just in order to change a piece of paper?
All right, well, thanks for speaking to us, Felicity. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Craig.
Felicity Wilson there, the Liberal MP for the North Shore, who says she will cross the floor on the Equality Bill.
ABC Radio Sydney with Craig Rucastle.